On March 19, 2011, Albert and Rita Chretien left their home in Penticton, British Columbia, for what should have been a straightforward drive to Las Vegas. They were heading to a trade show convention for their excavating business. Albert was 59 years old. Rita was 56. They had been married for 39 years and raised 3 sons together. The drive was meant to take 2 days, with an overnight stop planned in Jackpot, Nevada. They were traveling in a 2000 Chevrolet Astro minivan, loaded with luggage, business materials, and supplies for the trip. That afternoon, they stopped at a Shell gas station convenience store in Baker City, Oregon, to fuel up and buy snacks. Surveillance cameras captured them inside the store. It was the last confirmed sighting of the couple before they vanished. Somewhere after leaving Baker City, the Chretiens consulted their GPS for the shortest route to Jackpot. The device calculated a route that appeared faster than staying on major highways. It directed them onto a back road that crossed from Idaho into northeastern Nevada. What the GPS did not account for was the season. It was late March. Winter had not yet released its grip on the high country. The road that looked passable on a digital map was buried under snow and transformed into mud by the spring melt. The Chretiens followed the GPS directions. The paved road became gravel. The gravel became dirt. The dirt became a narrow Forestry Service trail, winding deeper into the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest. By the time they realized the mistake, darkness had fallen. They were miles from the main highway on a logging road in Elko County, surrounded by mountains and dense forest. The road conditions deteriorated with every mile. Snow lay thick on the ground, mud pooled in low spots. The minivan, not equipped for serious off-road travel, struggled to maintain traction. Finally, about 20 miles from the highway, the van sank axle-deep into mud alongside Taylor Creek Canyon. They were stuck. Albert tried to dig them out using a small shovel they had in the van. Rita helped, scraping mud away from the tires with whatever they could find. After hours of effort, they managed to free the vehicle. But when Albert attempted to back out, the van sank even deeper into another muddy depression. This time, it would not move. The couple climbed a nearby hill, hoping to get a cell phone signal. Rita's phone connected to a 911 operator, but the signal was too weak to hold. The call dropped before she could provide their location. They tried again and again. Each time, the connection failed within seconds. The dispatchers heard fragments, mentions of being stuck, needing help, somewhere in Nevada, but nothing concrete enough to launch a search. Frustrated and exhausted, the Chretiens returned to the van and tried to sleep. The next day, they attempted to walk out together. They made it several kilometers before Rita's knee, already troubled by arthritis, gave out. The pain was severe enough that she could not continue. They turned back to the van. Albert was growing increasingly anxious. He paced. He studied the GPS. He consulted the paper maps they had brought. Rita tried to calm him, suggesting they wait and conserve their strength. But Albert was convinced they needed to act. On the third day, March 22nd, Albert made a decision. He would walk out alone to find help. He packed a small backpack with a few items, some trail mix, hard candy, a notebook, a pen, sunflower seeds, and the GPS unit. He wrapped himself in a blanket. He told Rita he would head toward Mountain City, a small town he believed was nearby, and return with help. The goodbye was emotional. They cried together, knowing the risk, but seeing no alternative. Rita tried to stay strong for him, believing that if she broke down completely, he might not be able to leave. Albert kissed her, promised he would be back soon, and walked into the forest. Rita never saw him again. Alone in the van, Rita faced a situation few people ever encounter. She had no idea how long she would be there. She had limited food, a small bag of trail mix, a handful of hard candy, and a bottle of fish oil capsules. She had no phone signal. She had no way to start a fire. The temperatures at night dropped below freezing. During the day, rain and occasional snow made everything damp and cold. From the beginning, Rita made a conscious decision to ration her food as strictly as possible. Each day, she allowed herself one piece of hard candy and one fish oil capsule. When the trail mix was gone, she reduced her intake even further.
Almost ready.
She melted snow for drinking water, collecting it in containers, and letting it sit in the van until it liquefied. She walked every day, even when she felt weak. believing that movement would keep her body functioning. She read the Bible she had brought and prayed constantly. She wrote in a journal, marking the days and recording her thoughts. Before leaving the van to search for water one day, she left a note on a piece of paper in case rescuers arrived while she was gone. It read, "Please help. Stuck since Mar 1911. No food, no gas. Dead bat. Lost my way. Al went to get help. Find Mountain City. Did not return. Maybe died along the way?" The note was written in increasingly small handwriting as she ran out of space on the paper. The final line in red ink captured her growing fear. Days turned into weeks. Rita lost track of time. She marked each day by her routine. Wake up, eat her ration, melt snow, read, pray, walk, sleep. The isolation was absolute. There were no sounds except the wind, the rain, and occasionally the distant calls of birds. She saw no one. No planes flew overhead. No vehicles passed on the distant road. She began to lose weight rapidly. Her clothes hung loose. Her body burned through its reserves, trying to stay warm and functional on almost no calories. By the end of the first month, she had lost nearly 20 pounds. Her strength was fading. Simple tasks like gathering snow or walking to stretch her legs left her dizzy and breathless. She fought against despair by focusing on small goals. Survive today. Make it to tomorrow. Trust that someone would come. On March 30th, 11 days after the Chretiens were last seen, their family reported them missing to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Authorities in Canada, Oregon, Idaho, and Nevada were alerted. Search teams began combing the area, but the terrain was vast and the couple's exact route unknown. The GPS had led them into one of the most remote sections of the region, a spiderweb of logging roads and trails that stretched for hundreds of square miles. Searchers used helicopters, all-terrain vehicles, and ground crews. They followed every possible route the couple might have taken. But the van was too far off the main roads, hidden in a canyon, and surrounded by trees that blocked it from aerial view. Weeks passed, with no sign of the Chretiens. By late April, hope was fading. Rita, unaware that anyone was searching, continued her solitary vigil. On May 6, 2011, 49 days after they had become stuck, Rita heard a sound that did not belong to the wilderness. It was the low rumble of engines. She looked out the van window and saw 3 people on ATVs riding through the area. They were hunters, looking for deer and elk antlers in the off-season. Rita shot up from the back seat where she had been lying. She yanked the door open and stumbled out, shoeless, waving her arms. The hunters stopped immediately. They were shocked. Rita was emaciated, her face gaunt, her body weak. Her skin was pale and her movements slow. She could barely speak, but she managed to tell them she had been there for 7 weeks. The hunters called for help. Within hours, a helicopter arrived and airlifted Rita to a hospital in Idaho. She was treated for severe dehydration, malnutrition, and exposure.
I feel so weak,
Doctors
Doctor.
estimated she had lost between 20 and 30 pounds. Her body had been surviving on fewer than 200 calories a day for nearly 2 months. The fact that she was alive at all was extraordinary. Her family, who had been holding vigil in Penticton, received the news on Mother's Day weekend.
We're here, Mom.
The reunion was emotional beyond measure.
He's not here.
Rita's 3 sons
He's not
flew to
here.
Idaho to be with her, but the joy was incomplete. Albert was still missing. Search teams immediately intensified their efforts
Almost there.
in the area where Rita had been
Just
found.
keep moving.
They knew Albert had set out on foot with the GPS and had intended to reach Mountain City. Dozens of searchers combed the mountains on foot and by air. Search dogs were brought in. Volunteers from the local community joined professional rescue teams, but the terrain was brutal. Steep slopes, dense forest. And in March, when Albert had walked out, there had been 8 to 10 feet of snow covering the ground. Weeks of searching turned up nothing. By summer, the official search was scaled back. The family held a memorial service in April 2012, more than a year after Albert disappeared. Over 500 people attended. But Rita refused to give up hope
A
entirely.
long year. Yeah.
In September 2012,
But we're together
she
now.
traveled back to Nevada
Together.
with family members, to thank the searchers, and to walk the area where she and Albert had been stranded. It was a journey of closure and gratitude. 2 weeks after that trip, on September 29, 2012, two elk hunters named Rodney Thompson and Jay Doak were hiking in a remote section of Merritt Mountain when they found a backpack. Inside were a notebook, a pen, and sunflower seeds. They hiked farther up the slope and found human remains lying undisturbed beneath a tree. The body was intact.
And a wallet.
A wallet in the pocket contained identification. It was Albert Chretien. He had walked approximately 11 kilometers from where the van had been stuck. He had climbed about 600 meters in elevation through deep snow.
Where am I?
He had been heading in the right direction toward Mountain City and was only about 10 kilometers from the nearest town when he stopped. Investigators believe that the GPS unit he carried had stopped working, its battery dead or its signal lost in the heavy snow. Without it, Albert could not tell where the buried road was. He had climbed far higher than necessary, struggling through snow drifts that obscured the terrain. By the time he reached the tree where his body was found, he was likely suffering from severe hypothermia and exhaustion. Authorities speculated that he had taken shelter in a tree well, a natural depression in the snow around the base of a tree, and had simply lain down. There were no signs of animal predation. His remains were undisturbed. He appeared to have died peacefully.
Oh, thank God.
Rita
Thank
was
you so
notified
much.
immediately. At a press conference in Penticton, she spoke briefly, flanked by family members. She said she felt relief that Albert had been found and gratitude that he had not suffered a violent end. "You did good, Al," she said quietly. "Thank you for your effort." Albert's body was returned to Penticton for burial, fulfilling his wish to be laid to rest in his hometown. The Chretien's ordeal became a case study in the dangers of over-reliance on GPS technology. The device that directed them onto that remote logging road had no way to account for seasonal conditions, road quality, or vehicle capability. It calculated the shortest distance between 2 points without understanding that distance alone is not the only measure of a viable route. Studies of GPS-related incidents show that this type of error is not uncommon. Drivers following GPS directions have been led onto impassable mountain roads, into deserts, and even into bodies of water. The technology is a tool, but it is not infallible. It does not replace common sense, local knowledge, or the ability to assess conditions in real time.
There's nothing there.
In the Chretien's case, the error was compounded by the remoteness of the area and the severity of the weather. By the time they realized the road was impassable, they were too far in to turn back safely. Rita's survival for 49 days is considered medically remarkable. The human body can survive for weeks without food, but the rate of survival depends heavily on access to water, shelter, and the ability to maintain core body temperature. Rita had water from melted snow. She had shelter in the form of the van. She had clothing adequate to prevent hypothermia, though barely. What set her apart was her psychological resilience. She did not panic. She created a routine and stuck to it. She found purpose in prayer, reading, and the belief that she would be found. Experts in survival psychology note that the will to live is often the deciding factor in extreme situations. Rita chose to believe she would see her family again, and that belief sustained her when her body had almost nothing left to give. Albert's decision to walk out was both courageous and tragic. He was right to believe that staying put would eventually lead to death if no one found them. But the journey he attempted was beyond what he was equipped for. He had no winter gear,
Almost
no
there.
experience navigating deep snow,
Can't stop now.
and a GPS unit that failed him at the worst possible moment. His determination to save himself and his wife cost him his life, but it also gave Rita a chance.
Bring him back.
If he had stayed, they might both have died in the van. His effort, though it ended in tragedy, was an act of love. Albert and Rita Chretien did not set out to test the limits of human endurance. They set out for a business trip, trusting a piece of technology to guide them safely. A single wrong turn, directed by a GPS unit that could not account for reality, sent them into the mountains where one would die and the other would survive against extraordinary odds. Rita returned home to a life forever marked by those 49 days. She continued to run the family excavating business. She drove the same van she had lived in for 7 weeks, refusing to let fear dictate her choices.
I never knew I had that
She spoke
kind of
publicly
strength
about her
inside
experience
me
when asked,
until I stood
sharing
here
the lessons
and
of
shared
faith,
my truth with all of
resilience,
you.
and the importance of preparation. For 49 days, Rita Chretien sat alone in a van in the Nevada wilderness, rationing candy and melting snow, praying for rescue and mourning a husband who would not return. She did not know if anyone was looking. She did not know if she would live to see her sons again. But she chose, day after day, to survive. That choice, repeated without certainty and sustained by faith rather than evidence, is what brought her home.